introduce ourselves by the positions we are in the family.
I'm Martha Karua. I'm also known as Kakande True.
The person who's stepping on the, please just check whether you are stepping on a cable. Check. Can you identify who's stepping on the? Kuna mtu anakanyanga waya na hatutaki hiyo. The video will play. But first, let's bring our first panel discussion as we sort out the technical issues. So our panel conversations this afternoon are going to be moderated by somebody who is very good at this. She is a storyteller. She is very, very active in the digital space. She runs podcasts and does a lot of conversations online and speaks to people all the time. She is going to come and introduce her panelists to us, okay? Please put your hands together. And I did not say clap, eh? Put your hands together. Are the hands together? Put your hands together. And how we're going to clap is you follow my cue, okay? Moja mbili tatu twende. Very good. Our panel moderator is
You have several panelists joining you this afternoon, so please introduce them and introduce the topic.
Thank you, Eric. Good afternoon. I hope you're having a good time so far. So I'd like to introduce our panelists for the first panel. And on this panel, we'll be looking at Martha's life from her education perspective, and we're going to be talking to former teachers and former classmates. So they have some stories to tell. Are you ready? So first we have Mr. John Gomez. Mr. John Gomez was her headmaster at Kibua Girls in Kirinyaga. I have the experience of a student who did not want to bend. Going to the book to find out what that's about. And then we have Professor Winnie Mutula. Back then she was a head girl. And classmates at Nairobi Girls. Now you know it as Nairobi Girls, but at that time it was Nairobi Girls. And then we have this Ms. Wambui Kairi. Development consultant and farmer. But back then, she was a prefect and classmate too. So welcome. So who would like to start? I think I can start with you, Wambui, sorry. It's okay? You're ready to start? Or maybe we can start chronologically. Yes, let's go to Kibua Girls in Kirinyaga. And Mr. John Gomez can share with us his experience.
You can just sit. Yeah? Thank you. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am a lay missionary for the Diocese of Nairobi and Nyeri for the last 31 years. When I landed at Kibua, at that particular time, there were lots of strikes all over the country in the schools. And we didn't know what was the cause of it. So I had a prefect at Kibua who was Martha Karua. I called her and asked her the cause of problems in the schools. She said, Saturday and Sunday, they have nothing to do. The girls waste their time and plan strikes. So she said, we must spend some time. She advised me to use something to make the children's life enjoyable. So the next morning, me and my wife went to Nairobi, bought a music system and a projector. Saturday, 7 to 9, non-stop dancing. And we used to take the floor. First, we used to take the floor and dance, and no one should sit in the hall. Continuous dancing. After finishing the dance, we went around the dormitory. The snoring was so loud that even the rats ran out of the dormitory. Sunday, from 7 to 9, film. But I used to test the film before it was shown to them. So any special thing, my face would come in front of the projector so that they knew what was happening. So when we went for meetings heads meeting in Nairobi, at least 4 or 5 heads were told by the ministry, please go home. Your schools are on strike. This is what it is. So we spent time teaching the girls, having a lot of time they use discussing the dances and the films. And also we showed them the different dances following the project of Victor Sylvester. Waltzes, tangos, cha-cha-chas, foxtrots, they learned everything, and Mata was in charge of all those functions there. So she is the one who controlled the dances. There were no chairs kept in the hall so that nobody could sit over there. No chairs were kept. So this is how we brought up the society, and the strikes went down all over the country because we spread that gospel of spreading dancing and projections. She also helped me, to start the connection between different girls and family relationships. So the school that we were in, it was not just a school, but a family get together, because my wife was a part of it. She was their nurse, she was their matron, she was their librarian, and she is the one, Martha, took a lot of interest, and this is how Martha's idea brought about rest, prosperity among the children in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. John Gomez, for sharing that. As you can see, the leadership qualities were there. And at that time, probably Ministry of Dance was her title. And we'd like to go next to you, Professor Winnie Mitula. What was your experience at Nairobi Girls?
Thank you. My experience is a lot, but I'll share only a few. We were very tough-headed girls, very, very difficult girls in school, but I was the head girl. but I was equally not a very good girl in terms of, school likes you to say yes all the time, and, in our system, we are trained not to say you don't know, not to question, and some of us had come from homes, I guess Martha could have been like me as well. My parents taught me to look at people in their eyes, to question and to confront them. And this in school those days was seen to be very, like you shouldn't do it. So when we were in school, it was difficult. And one thing I know is that when I was a head girl, Martha, Jen Matoke, there were a number of girls who used to advise me as well as a head girl. So he is a tough head girl, but she has some advisors. So we had to go through very difficult things. And one difficult one was smoking, because a lot of girls used to smoke, not that they were smokers. Is that trial you do as a young person? You know it. I did it. I smoked as well. So the smokers were there. Yeah, so there were these smokers, and then they're young, and we are in high school and they're in Form 2. So they would hide behind the tennis court and the rest. So we would consult with Martha and say, now, this little girl is going to be sent home. What do we do? No, we must convince Mrs. Mwaniki. They shouldn't be sent for smoking. We can talk to them. So there was always that feeling of you speak out and you're also helping your other young girls. So Martha was all the time that sprouting out, the kind that will be looked for if something happened, because where is she? Very confident, self-driven, and the way I saw the self-driven Martha in school going against the tides doesn't shock me, because she was self-driven, she was resilient, and those days this concept of resilience was not there. It wasn't so much. It came more to be dramatized by, through climate change and all this. But Martha was resilient. If she wanted to do something, she did it. And also very open, and had many friends when we were in high school. I know if you read the book, you will see something that happened on page 43 there, about one time we took a collective responsibility, an impossible collective responsibility, because we booed the teacher. You remember, we booed the teacher, and the teacher just said, no, I will never teach you again. Went, reported us, and in the booing there was also a whistle. Somebody whistled. So what was picked up was the whistle. So they wanted the one who whistled to be declared. And we said, but how does one get sent home that they whistled? What do you tell your dad? No, this can't happen. Nobody will be victimized. And we fought that through negotiation for days and days. We succeeded. Probably we were punished, but we succeeded. So what I see today of Martha, especially when Martha became the politician, I was saying, Martha now is in the right place. But let's see. And I was very happy, 20 years, and we were very close that time, plus with my colleague here, Kaire, with Martha. Those years as a member of parliament, then getting to be a minister, then the tides. I won't go along to say the tides. There have been a number of tides in Martha's journey, her journey. I won't even call it journey to politics or journey to life, but it's a journey. Because for me, I believe this journey is not stopped. Tides come, you pass the waves, and you go next. And I think in high school with our Mrs. Mwaniki, we must mention her name, a very special lady. I remember last elections, we were very up all over trying to campaign, and with our headmistress around us as well, saying this, our lady has to continue and to move on. So we are really happy to be here and to talk about Martha. Her story and her journey will continue guiding some of us, and of course, the advice and all that we get is good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Winnie Mitula. Correct me if I'm wrong, but your cohort was one of the first to be all admitted to university. Your class.
To be?
Admitted to university. All of you admitted to university.
Yeah.
what could happen to this fiery girl of mine who has joined politics and she's silencing everybody. You as her old friend, between you and me, could you please talk to her and tell her to tone down and take care of what she says and where she goes, because I think she's doing it, she's too much. Tell her to tone down, and don't tell her I have told you to say so. So all along, I promised Mr. Karua that I will do the best I can. Of course, I never toned her down. I put fuel. I put more fuel so she could even go faster and higher. But what I remember is that Mr. Karua also told me that when he brought Martha to Form 5 in Nairobi Girls, escorted her from home to the school, he also confided in the headmistress because he was worried. She has been to several schools in the past. And is she going to do these 2 years in this school? So he confided in the headmistress and told her, I want to tell you who my daughter is, and thank you first of all for taking her, because I didn't think anybody will take her into any school after what she has been in the past. And I only came to learn that from our former headmistress, Mrs. Mwaniki, just a few years ago when we were doing campaign for Mother. And she also told us, when Mr. Karua told me this, when he brought this girl to my school, and over the time I was watchful. I saw leadership instead of fiery and reasonable campaign. And for those 2 years, Mrs. Mwaniki was aware that there is a leader. She found that there was a leader here, not a fiery girl who just riots for the sake of rioting. And she only confided to us 2 years ago. But what I would say is that Martha was such a lesson to us in the small things we did in school, and especially the good things. Like Professor has said, Nairobi girls had quite a bunch of girls who had tasted urban life in Eastlands, Nairobi, and they knew a lot, and smokers. You will remember that Nairobi Girls is next to Kibera slums. So there were people from the slums who were trying to sneak bang into the school. Mother has been, and I would like to even extend that to the university, because when we left high school, we went to university, and those who went to university, you all know, imbibing alcohol, smoking, and other extremes. But Mother was never an extremist in terms of vices. Let's call them vices. And even though she would join you at Serena used to be our morning, evening special place, because we were just here. And there were no restrictions in Serena. We could changa and buy 2 beers and share at Serena, not in Matthew, at Serena. And Mother was always very moderate. She wouldn't drink much. She never smoked. So she was on our watch. She's the one who would walk us back if we overdid it. So she's been very moderate in terms of, so you could never accuse Mother of, oh, you are behaving like this because you're drunk or you have smoked. She was careful, and that has followed her in life, moderate. But most of all is that she challenged the norms from early. A professor referred to the whistle, and anybody who was in Nairobi Girls then, even the other classes from Form 1, still remember about the whistle. And she whistled, and the teacher was very, very, very mad about it. And so we all had to say who is on. And we would not say, because this is a leader we respect, how can we say it's her? And finally, when she owned up and said she's the one who whistled, she justified it and in front of all the teachers. And her reasoning was, this is a natural thing that happens. Just like I would cough. So this is natural. How can you punish us for, being natural? A whistle is like a cough. That was the justification. And we could see the teachers actually, for a moment thinking, yeah, actually, it's a natural action. But anyway, the reason that we kept quiet was not because it's because we respected her. We did not see why someone should be punished because of whistling, coughing. How? So the teacher actually felt like, yeah, maybe, well, it could have been a natural reaction. But beyond, Mother also knew what she was in school for. Surprising enough, Mother knew she was going to be a lawyer. And she worked hard to be a lawyer. In fact, at one point, she bought a pair of glasses and told us, lawyers usually look like this. They wear glasses, and she bought a pair. She bought a pair of glasses when we were in Form 6 to look like a serious lawyer. And she achieved it. But what I would also not forget is when we were taken into Nairobi University, remember the late President Kenyatta died while we were in university, we just joined. And to my amazement, when Kenyatta died, we were staying at the box, and we all came out of the rooms. And the first person that I met on the corridor was Martha, because her room was not far from mine. And everybody was shocked. Kenyatta? You mean Kenyatta was mortal, he could die? And most astonishing to me was when I met Mother on the corridors, she was dancing, "Change is as good as rest." And I asked Mother, are you real? You don't? Kenyatta, you know Kenyatta? Kenyatta has died. Change is as good as rest. And that has lived with me since that time till today. Mother is not afraid to challenge the norms against all tides. Against the tide, because Kenyatta's death in the country was, people had been stupefied to think Kenyatta was so immortal. And who else than Mother to remind us all in that university that change is as good as rest. So against the tide follows Mother all along, and I am very proud of her, and many of us should be proud of her. And I know she's got a lot more to deliver in this country from now on.
So I'd like to ask Mr. John Gomez, what's your favorite recollection, or what you are a teacher, so you are used to teaching students, but sometimes your students also teach you. So what would you say that you learned from Martha?
Martha used to love my subject, biology. And we used to discuss biology for a long period, because that particular subject creates a lot of interest among human beings and animals. So every time I went to the class, the first class they loved was biology. And I spent all my time teaching biology for 30 years in all the schools in Central Province. Nyeri High, Gaichenjiro, Mugoiri, Karima, St. Mary's. And I introduced a new school called Moikweta Nanyuki. I founded that school and built it single-handedly, the whole school. 12 classrooms, 3 dormitories, 7 staff houses, administration block, dining hall, 4 laboratories, library, and all the girls had the access to the farm in the school with 1,000 chickens, 84 pigs, 10 cattle, 40 goats, and 100 sheep, all for the school. So we brought up all our children in Kenya as our family. And all the girls I left 40 years back, 50 years back, we are still together and we meet every year.
So a question to you, Professor, and Wambui, Ms. Wambui. There was a thread of sisterhood when you were doing your A-levels and also when you were in university. What would you say inspired this between all of you at that time? The sisterhood between you.
I would say the sisterhood started when we met, of course, in high school and continued to university. And for me, one of the reasons why the sisterhood kept going strong is because whatever we used to do in high school showed results. And mother is a results-oriented person. I can tell you that. I still remember in Nairobi Girls how we used to have church services in the school on Sunday. And we felt that it was too claustrophobic, and we wondered, hey, of course, the thinking behind it was we are just the girls. Church is for congregation of many people, not just students. So we initiated Martha, Winnie. We decided that we were going to talk to the headmistress and the administration to allow us to go to church outside the school. And not only that, you remember in high school, we used to be signed out by parents on when we were going out. And these two things were initiated through Martha, Winnie, and our class. And those who are not here, we are representing them. They can say that. We initiated that. We told the headmistress we need to go out, flex muscle, go out to church outside and meet other human beings. And we had to justify that. And Martha, we did justify, and Martha also said, we can sign ourselves out from 5s and 6s. We are older than the from 1s to 4s. And because we are responsible human beings, we can actually sign ourselves out instead of asking our parents to come and sign us out. Because some of the people did not come from Nairobi, so their parents were nowhere. There were people who were not signed out and stayed in all the time. And do you know, we discussed it with the teachers and the headmistress, and hey, they allowed it. They allowed us to sign ourselves out from 6s and 5s. And not only that, to go out, but they had to decide which church we all go to, which was the Baptist church on Gong Road. Imagine. results oriented. I hope it still happens today, I don't know, but it happened. And again at the university, for me, I remember many of our class, from 6th class, many of us went to university, especially Nairobi University, and many of them were doing law, except me. And I felt so bad when they were all taken into law. I told my father, I don't want to go to university. I was not taken to do law, and that's what I wanted. So I went home, and my father had to persuade me to go back, and told me how one can even do law after the first one that I was taken. I did sociology and government, but I don't know if Daktari would remember, but mother used to sneak me into the law classes, such that some people still think I did law in Nairobi University. So, and mother also started teaching us how to fight for our rights when we were in university. And I remember one time we went to, it was called what? Excelsior Hotel. And because when they saw you as girls, they would kick you out. I mean, what are girls doing here on their own? You are not accompanied. And we kicked such a furor. I remember that class also had a foreign lady, Mrs. Chite. I can't remember she was from which country. She was from Kenya. She was doing law. And we had to justify why we are there as ladies alone, how we don't have to be accompanied. And we were finally allowed to sit down and have our drink. So there are many examples I would give that many things mother taught us. And they were always good things. I can't remember one thing mother taught us that was not a good thing, really. So many more. I would not bore you more, but there are many more.
Thank you so much. And due to the constraints of time, we're going to have to wrap up our panel. I hope you all enjoyed and got to hear a bit of the other side of Honorable Martha Karua, and would like to move on with the program. So thank you so much for coming on stage and sharing your stories. Over to you, Latif.
Another warm round of applause, please, for our panelists. Apart from Martha, is there anybody else here who went to Kibua Girls? Anyone else? There are many. Don't be shy. Just raise your hand or stand up. Who else went to, before Moi Girls? Nairobi Girls. Nairobi Girls, there you go. Round of applause. Moi Nairobi Girls. Okay. So now, this time, our technical guys have told us the technical side is sorted. Please cross your fingers. Musiguza nini? Yeah. Let's watch.
I'm Martha Karua. I'm also known as Kathande 2. I'm Martha Karua. I'm also known as Kathande 2 family. On account of my being a second born.
Jackson Karua Jarubio. Josephine Medinangu ni Jackson Karua Jarubio. Tutungali vijana.
Josephine Karua au Josephine Wanjiru Karua. Kwa kweli mimi ni mama ya Martha. Hata nimempatia jina la Martha kama mama yangu.
My name is Josephine Nyaga Karua. Martha is
I'm Martha Karua. I'm also known as Kathande 2 on account of my being a second born in our family.
Jina yangu ni Jackson Karua Jarubio. Josephine ni bibi yangu. Tulianza safari yetu tungali vijana.
Josephine Karua I'm Josephine Wanjiru Karua. Kwa kweli mimi ni mama ya Martha. Hata nimempatia jina la Martha kama mama yangu.
My name is Josephine Karua. Martha is my elder sister. In our family, we introduce ourselves by the positions we are in the family and by the name of this locality. So in short, I'm Kadade 4.
Margaret Wawira Karua. I'm the firstborn in this family. I am Kadande 1.
My name is Esther Wambui Karua, and Martha is my big sister. I'm Kadande 7.
My name is Kathy Jerry, and Martha is my aunt.
My first role models were my parents and my paternal grandmother.
Martha ingali mtoto walikuwa kama watoto wengine, lakini unajua desturi za mtu ni Mungu anapeana.
Martha is an extraordinary person. Actually, it's one of a kind. I believe there are not many in the world like her.
Alikuwa akicheza, alikuwa akinisaidia, alikuwa akifanya mengi, hata wengine alikuwa akiwacommand sana.
My earliest memory of her is when she took me for a boat ride when I was very young, together with my brother at Uhuru Park.
Mother's character is unmatched.
Yes, I remember she loves singing, she loves music, so I would sometimes catch her, you know, dancing to the music.
And then, especially on Saturday afternoon when music used to be played on KBC, we would get a radio that we had, put it outside, and then Martha and my elder brother would be showing us dancing styles.
Wakati mmoja kukawa na mkutano mkubwa sana kule Kianyaga. Alipatiwa nafasi kuongea. Alipoongea, watu ambao hawakuwa wamemsikia tena walimpigia makofi, wakafanya kelele nyingi sana kwa furaha. Normally those very early days, that characters had not really been defined, especially in lower primary school. You may not have noticed it, but at home I can very well remember we could see her assuming some leadership roles even that early time.
Alikuwa akionyesha yeye anaweza kuwa mtu wa kufanya kazi za aina yote, hata kuwasimamia watu wengine wafanye kazi au wao wakiongea ikiwa ni mkutano, alikuwa akitaka sana kuongea.
So how I helped her is by staying with the kid. By then she was a magistrate at the High Court. Then she moved to Kibira, finally to Makandara.
When they were advocating for multi-party democracy, that's when her character now came out, because she could talk boldly, even regardless of the kind of government which was then there, and address the then President Moi, who was a tough one.
At the beginning it wasn't easy, since she was contending with a man, and those were old days when women were not accepted as leaders.
Alipotaka kusimama kama mbunge, nikaa kama nina hofu kidogo, maana mzee ambaye alikuwa politician wakati huo ni mmoja tu na alikuwa rafiki yangu. Kwa ghafla nilikuja na gari, nikakuta vita iko kubwa sana, hata kijana mmoja wangu alikuwa amepigwa upande mmoja wa kichwa na akakatwa na panga. Nikasema hivyo ndivyo, hakuna jambo kama hili, hata Karidi akiwa rafiki yangu aende bali.
Sasa alikuwa akionekana yeye ni shujaa, ana msimamo wake, na hiyo msimamo inamfanya kukosana na wengine.
So she asked me to deliver a statement to KTN, which was then situated at Nyayo House. Remember, Nyayo House was also the torture chambers of Moi era. So in my hurry, I forgot to press the actual place where KTN was situated, and I ended up in the torture chambers, which was I think on the 24th floor. And the APs there were very happy. They thought, oh, she brought herself. only to realize after I was held for a few minutes, about 10 or 15, when the senior came and told them, no, that's the wrong person you have. So I was released.
She is somebody who goes to great lengths to help another person who has a problem.
Na alikuwa akisaidia watu sana ambao wako hapa Kishuru. Watoto walikuwa wale walikuwa wakitoka shule, alikuwa akiwatafutia kazi wengi, kazi za aina yote, na walikuwa wameenda wengi sana wakati ule.
I've been a hairdresser for a couple of years. Actually, she's the one who got me my first job.
We admire her for the positions she normally takes. Most politicians take positions due to their stomachs or due to very many different reasons. Ninyonaga wendo munene muno ona koguo ni tuhoera Ngai amutethie undu uria ekuona no amube thiini wa bururi witu amube niguo andu mone ati ni mundu ungehota kurutira andu wira.
There's one time I was in hospital and she would never fail to come and see me. She would come, sit with me for a few minutes, hold my hands and pray. So the first time she actually prayed with me, I was like, oh, this is another side I've not seen.
Kazi yake hata sisi inatubariki. Sasa ningemwambia aendelee hivi.
I thank God for all that He has made her and what she is today and what she will be tomorrow. I believe her tomorrow is greater than today.
Sijui kama unakumbuka hiyo mwalimu alikuwa anataka kunichapa nyuma kama wavulana.
Nikamwambia hapana. Nilipoenda nikasema hakuna. Hata mimi ni mwalimu, nilimwambia hivyo. Wasichana wanasaba mikono. Wavulana tu wanawachapa hata nyuma.
In 2 or 3 when they were doing homecomings for Honorable Mudi away, there was a Busia plane crash which mother was in. As we were running helter-skelter, not knowing where to start or what to do, Honorable Mukisa Kitui called me and told me that they are with mother, she's okay. She still would go to her office with a neck brace. That's how much mother loves her work and her people.
Most people know her as the Iron Lady. And I've had people ask me, so how do you guys even talk? Like, she's so tough. But I would want people to know that she's a soft person on the inside, really.
I think I would describe her as a very principled politician. She never goes against what she believes in.
She's very committed when she decides not to do anything.
In between the injustices that she has faced and the betrayals, I have seen her, even in her low moments, still stand.
Yes, I am very proud of mother. Anytime, I am very proud of her.
I would want to congratulate her on that milestone and tell her that I look up to her as a role model.
Never stop for any reason. Just go on, my sister. We are standing right behind you. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, the theme for this afternoon is strength and resilience for greater good. Say after me, strength and resilience for greater good. And the hashtag for tonight is hashtag Martha Against the Tide. So I know many of you are producing content. We're all content creators in here. So as you're posting content, the hashtag is Martha Against the Tide. Tafadhali. Now, we are going to have a second panel discussion shortly with Naliaka, who will be talking to other people who will take us through Martha's journey post-university, into career, into leadership and governance. And before we do that, I just want, because we have very many people in the room, I'm going to take a couple of people as samples, all right? And the one thing that people talk about, even Martha herself has said, that people call her the Iron Lady. So that's not the word that I want to hear from you. So apart from the Iron Lady, how else would you describe Martha Karua? I'll pick somebody randomly, because we have to stand up and then not a story, just one line.
Good at following instructions. My name is Ngendo. I would describe Martha as Kenya's Avenger.
Kenya's Avenger, we have one. Very good, very good. Mugisa, I'm not coming to you. I'm coming to this one. I've spared you this one. You're the one. Yes, stand up, tell us your name. Apart from Kenya's Avenger and the Iron Lady, how else would you describe Martha Karua? Amepewa leakage. Umeshika leakage? Tukapatia 1 minute tuchukue Mwakenya. Stand up. Your name, please.
My name is Yotara Joffrey. Mother is our mother, a strong woman.
Our mother, a strong woman. Yeah, remember, Baba na Martha. Remember? In this column, who am I going to pick? See, someone volunteer. Okay, I'm coming to pick. I'll pick you. You knew? So sit down, not you then. Let's go for her. Tell us your name. And apart from Mother, our mother, Kenya's Avenger, Kenya's Iron Lady, what else?
Sorry, my name is Penina. I admire Mother. She is resilient and the strongest person who stands against the tide. That's what I see her.
Very well said. Strong, standing against the tide. Okay, that was a kuanea. Smama too. You wanted this.
Hi everyone. My name is Adele Onyango, and when I think of Martha, I'm going to use the word, could I just use a sentence? Can please, I know, okay? So she's the one who's opening the gate for us, and so I hope we honor her sacrifices.
Opening the gate. So we say, the gate opener. Washimeni. Okay, we come to this column. This one is a big one. So there are people who are already volunteering. Good. I like volunteers. So we know what we've heard so far. Gate opener. Kenya's Avenger. What else? Resilient. Mother. The Iron Lady.
Hello, my name is Brian Karanja, and I'd say Martha is selfless.
Selfless, a good one.
Hi, my name is Dr. Patricia Murugami. Martha is Africa's phoenix and a breeze.
Patricia, surely, I mean, must you go with a heavy English like that? There are more people. Okay.
Thank you. My name is David Mushungu. I would say that a society may largely be made of many people with high integrity, or on the other side, made by many people who lack integrity. Mother has integrity.
You want to say that? Finally.
Hi everyone. After meeting Mother a couple of times, I realized behind that strength, she has a sweet spirit. Like she just walks out of her office to meet you on the corridor. She has a very sweet spirit.
My name is Afara Omar, and I'd like to say Martha is a scapegoat to the political class, because as much as she has integrity and all these things, utaambiwa she owns Riviera Mall, she owns something, while in reality she's as poor as most of us.
Very well said. Now I've opened that gate. I have to close this gate very fast before things get out of hand. Tumemaliza hiyo chapter. Naliaka, please come for the next panel. As we hear from people, you know what we are seeing, what we are even seeing in the room is various generations, right? So Martha is transgenerational. People who are 50 and above, please raise your hand. People who are 50 and above in the room? Okay. Let's clap for those who are 50 and above and they're in the room. Okay. If you are 50 and below, please raise your hand. 50 and below, raise your hand. Keep your hand up if you're 45 and below. Keep your hand up if you're 40 and below. Keep your hand up if you are 35 and below. Keep your hand up if you are 30 and below. Keep your hand up if you are 25 and below. Ai, kuna watu hapa sasa ambao. Keep your hand up if you are 20 and below. See, we still have people. Keep your hand up if you are 15 and below. Right. Keep your hand up if you are 10 and below. 10 and below. Are you seeing what we mean? Martha transcends all generations. Right? And that's the thing about the inspiration. So Neliaka, your next conversation is going to look at Martha post those rebel days. You know, we've seen the prefects. Madam Headgirl, was Martha a prefect? There you go. So Martha was the bad influence who could not be made a prefect, but the headmistress knew that you make her friends the prefect, so they try and tame her. Strategic. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Eric. So we're going to move on to the second panel, and I would like to call Dorothy Angote and Dr. Nancy Baraza to the stage. I'm also told I should also call Honorable Martha Karua to the stage. So on this part of the journey, we're looking at post-university life, career, politics, and activism. As we've seen, if you have already begun thumbing through the book, and even from the stories told on the videos, you can see a common thread that there's integrity, there's a strong sense of justice and fairness, and there's loyalty and dedication. So now we'd like to welcome Lady Justice, retired Dr. Nancy Baraza, and Dorothy Angote, who worked with Martha at the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. You're her PS, and now you're a legal consultant for legal governance and land reforms. So welcome to Going Against the Tide. And of course, our Mheshimiwa, Martha Karua. Thank you. So I'd like to start with you, Dr. Nancy Baraza. You are a colleague and comrade at arms at LSK and FIDA. What can you tell us about your time together?
Thank you very much, Nadiaka, and good afternoon, everybody. I have known Martha since the 17th day of September 1977. And this was a group of young, ambitious girls who had just conquered and been admitted to the Faculty of Law, University of Nairobi. So that's how we met. And so we spent our studies at Gandhi Wing and of course lived at the box. And so my life and Martha's life started then. I admired her in class. We had come from various parts of the country. I think she was lucky. Wamboy has talked about people who had tasted Nairobi life. Some of us had not tasted Nairobi life. We were emerging straight from Mount Elgon, trying to navigate trying to cross University Way. You know, that was hard. The motorists then were kind. They were not the motorists of today. So we would be running across, and but of course not Martha running. I learned a lot from her. And Martha was what I would call a savior in our class. So we go to this school, and I can see one of our great teachers, Mwalimu Willy Mutunga. I don't know if we have Professor Kibua and our other teachers, but Prof. Justice Mutunga was one of our teachers. And of course, the class of law, it scared us stiff, because there we were, and the teachers were introducing us to these subjects in Latin. It was Latin. And I remember, I think in land law, there was this thing, quid, planter, solo, sedate. So a teacher comes in and starts with that. And another one comes in for a class of jurisprudence, is in new star, lex, lex. And we are all so scared. Got so scared. But Martha was the only one who could like whisper, so what did that mean? And sometimes the teacher would see and see like we needed an explanation, but none of us had the guts. In fact, most of us wanted to run away from the class. But she made fun of it, sometimes made it possible for some of these terms to be explained. So she led in that class and ensured that we didn't run out of the law class because we thought it sounded too difficult. So Mother was our savior. She was smart, she was clever, she was confident, she had such bouncing, healthy hair and a happy smile, and she was just a lovely person and very, very relatable. And so that is how we graduated in 1980, went to law school, Kenya School of Law together, and then our career paths started to shape up. She joined the bench as a magistrate. Some of us went to private practice. And she did well on the bench. We were appearing before her. She was a good magistrate. And then at that time, members of the bench were very stiff people. They were stiff, almost scary. But Martha made the environment a bit comfortable. Now, our paths crossed when she left the judiciary and joined private practice. And together with other gallant women, I can see Betty Murungi, I can see Jenny Kiragu, I can see, I don't know if Lilian Maura is here, but yes, I can see you, Lilian. And we formed the present day Federation of Women Lawyers in Kenya, FIDA. And guided actually by Lilian, by Martha, by their sense of justice. We found an area where women were very, very disadvantaged in terms of navigating their way around law, trying to get maintenance for their children in the courts, the law covering areas which mattered most to women, like marriage, like children, matrimonial property, which she majored in practice, creating a lot of jurisprudence. What the country relies on now is courtesy of Mother Karua. So her sense of justice was very strong then, as a young girl, but there she was. And we formed this organization within a very hostile environment, when everybody was wondering, what are these women talking about? I mean, what is their problem? I remember the late President Moi was alarmed. What are these girls talking about? And sending people to come and ask, do they have food, or what is their problem? You know, little did he know that we had a big agenda to transform this country for women and for Kenyans eventually, which we did. And a lot of that effort goes to Honorable Mother Karua, her courage and her strong sense of justice. Then, of course, I met, our paths crossed. She joined LSK in the leadership. Again, I think she was with our mwalimu, LSK, very hazardous times. Some of us faltered along the way, but they were there, very, very strong. Mother, a very, very strong person. That is the time when LSK fought very, very hard for democratic changes in this country. It wasn't easy, but there she was, standing out as a woman with Mwalimu and others. And they did what we all know today, the democratic space that this country enjoys is courtesy of people like Honorable Mother Karua. And then, of course, constitution making, which started with that movement within LSK and joined the greater struggle for multipartyism. She was in it, and of course that morphed into the greater struggle for constitutional reforms. And so the constitution that we enjoy today, Mother has contributed in a very, very, very big way. In terms of the philosophy of it, and in terms of even technical expertise, because when I was serving as a commissioner with the CKRC, with the Yashpal Commission, trying to produce a draft constitution, Mother became the technical leader of it, because then she was in the Ministry of Justice. She was the Minister of Justice at some stage, and very, very critical in shaping the constitution that we have today. So that's Mother.
Thank you.
And let me just a little about the Iron Lady, the softest human being on earth, the most kind human being on earth. Because apart from our formal interactions, Mother became a very good friend. So I am almost in her house every other week. And Mother serves us food. Herself, she does it herself with her grandchildren, and she has so many young people that she nurtures. Her compound is never empty. There are young people whom she nurtures. There are young people whose fees she pays. She does so much. And Mother will part with her last penny to pay for that child who doesn't have his. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where that child comes from. And that is Mother for you. So when sometimes we get this narrative of a hard person, she's the softest, the most kind person, and we are privileged as this country, as a country, to have Honorable Mother Karua amidst us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Those are amazing words and very true. And I'd just like to hand it over to Honorable Martha Karua, and we take it back to your days in university when you met Dr. Baraza. And this was a time when you said you first began to get very interested in social justice and even taking part in demonstrations. So you are the Gen Z of that time. Would you like to share a bit about that?
maybe to say very shortly that university is a different ball game. You've come from high school where you are dependent on teachers. At home, you're dependent on parents. You're now thrown on the deep end on your own. But thank God that those days there was A levels. So after O levels, you are going to 5 and 6 to mature up a little before you are thrown on the deep end. So having gone for A levels helped us. We knew how to band together. If you're going out, we were safer together. You go out 2 or 3 of you, and you go to the nearest place, which was this Serena. It wasn't this big that then. Or another hotel, I'm forgetting the name of that hotel, which was just here, not Boulevard. There was a hotel where you see these buildings, high-rise, office blocks after Serena. There was a famous hotel there. Greenview, yeah. So we used to go there or here because then you are just walking back to the halls of residence. And if you go beyond here, you have to fundraise among yourselves, make sure you have enough money for a taxi. So we were learning to look after ourselves, and we knew working together we could manage ourselves in this environment. Then comes the demonstrations. For the first time on coming to university, you hear other students debating at the Great Court about the oppression in the country, things going on. And I do remember one demonstration. You read about it in the book. When we were joined by one of our favorite lecturers, Dr. Willy Mutunga, and he was showing us how to manage ourselves, how to have marshals so that the demonstrations are not infiltrated by thugs. So university is really where life used to begin, where you connect what is happening in the country with your daily life and with what is happening to everyone. It was sort of like opening our eyes. And I really, I keep on saying that if you ask me, my best experience is at Nairobi Girls and at the university. I went to Nairobi Girls thinking I was outspoken. What? Did I meet outspoken people? You know, you think you know something or you are the one who has the courage to ask questions. You meet tougher people. The same thing at the university. And my total experience or who I am today is a mosaic of all that interaction. And therefore, to all those of you who are present, and I can see one of my teachers, Mrs. Mwaura, I can see you. I don't know whether Mrs. Michira is here also. Yeah? Oh, Mrs. Michira, you are here. That's so really. You can imagine, those were my high school teachers, and now Mr. Gomez, high school, I mean A levels, secondary school, Mr. Gomez is here. It's so heartwarming to see them and to see all of you, because really, one's total being is a mosaic of all your interactions and experiences.
Thank you, thank you. And from there, you went on to do a lot more. You became a magistrate, you opened your private practice, and you ended up working in government. So I'd like to invite Dorothy Angote Muya to share working with Honorable Martha Karua in the Ministry of Justice and Constitution. How was that experience?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I will begin with saying this. Martha is a fantastic and amazing person. But let me begin from the beginning. I was a very reluctant public servant. I never wanted to work with government. During my time, if I can call it my time, we had a very low opinion of government, simply because, you know what was happening. And so we thought, if you went to work with government, one, you must have been a failure, you must have been corrupt, and you must have been someone wanting to make some money very quick. And we thought that since we had a good education, we had gone, a group of us, we had gone to Alliance and qualified from the University of Nairobi. We didn't need to go to government. So one day, I'm appointed into government. And as you may well know, those days no one asked you. You are headhunted without being told. And I found myself in government. And many here, and many may not know, but some of the ones who are here know that that was my saddest, one of my saddest days. To be appointed into government, who works in government? So I went into government, and the reason my attitude changed, one of the reasons was Martha, working with Martha. But even before that, I will just tell you how some of these things are very difficult and what perceptions can do. And I know everybody talks about Martha being the Iron Lady. Anyway, so the minister in my ministry is removed. And after some time, Martha is appointed to my ministry. And I can tell you the whole government and the whole country was afire. I received so many telephone calls, hundreds, 90% from men, telling me that I better start packing my bags. Why? The Iron Lady is coming. So I said, I couldn't understand it. Personally, I had no problem. I knew Martha was a very hard worker, and I am a very hard worker. And I know that anyone who loves performers would have no problem with me. So in spite of my trying to fend off these telephone calls with reasoning, they continued coming. And when I say everybody, you know, as high as possible. They tried to give me advice here and then. I was not worried any bit. But something interesting happened. I telephoned Martha's office. I think she was you were at the Ministry of Water then. And what I wanted to do was to make arrangements to receive her at the Ministry of Justice. I was told that they would get back to me. And 2 days, I think, went by. And as I'm sitting in my living room at home, I actually saw Martha giving a press conference at the Ministry of Justice. So I received telephone calls telling me, where are you? We told you so, you know, that it's going to be tough. But when we started working together, it wasn't what people had said. One of the reasons, I didn't mention this, why some of us were put off government, working in government. We thought that surely would you find people to reason with and engage on issues? Because you remember the stories we used to get about government at that time. It was all about looting or corruption and that kind of thing. But as soon as we started working with Martha in the Ministry of Justice, I have never loved my work as when I did during this time. There was intellectual engagement on a level that is unimaginable. And I can tell you, it wasn't that Martha said this and I did this. We would argue, we would battle over issues until we come to an agreeable position as to how we should proceed. And if you may recall, at that time, the main issues that Kenya had were governance issues as well as the constitution. And it was a beautiful time. I woke up every day and say, and said, oh my goodness, I would have missed this. It was very good. Now, the people who were out and in government used to call me after week 1, week 2, and say, how is it going? And I'd say, no, it's very good. Are you sure? And I recall getting some appointments very fast up there, because when I called, they thought I'm going to complain or something. But they would be surprised after I tell them about what I had come to discuss. They would you about a week ago, I was invited to a forum attended by he's the economic advisor to the president. And he talked about the IMF and the conditionalities. And I wanted to pick up the phone and call you and say, do we still have conditionalities from the IMF? Because I recall with Martha, we demolished the issue of conditionalities with the IMF. They were not giving any conditionalities to Kenya. And we fought many battles, and just to prove that Martha isn't all iron. We also did girl things, like after successfully carrying out our missions, we would go shopping. And I recall sometimes when we were very successful, we would overshop as girls are given to do. And I don't know if you remember one time, I think we went over our credit cards. So you were in one corner calling your relationship manager, and I was in the other corner. And you were saying, look, we are at the till, you must do something. And I don't know if it was Bond Street, and you don't want to be embarrassed on Bond Street. And so I think we had very good bankers then. They did what needed to be done. And we went back to the till as if we were just taking some air out there and made our payments. So Martha isn't all iron. She does do girl things. I have danced with Martha. She's a very good dancer. I had the family talk about that. Another thing, we have laughed with Martha. We have really laughed. And every time I can truly state this, every time I think of Martha, I smile. I just smile. And I didn't mention, as I was getting calls warning me about Martha, I didn't mention that I was also considered a problem. You see, it was being said, can those two work together? And so what many people are waiting for is, when will the flag begin to fly? And it never did, because of who she is.
So I'd like you to share, Honorable Karua, about your time with her at the Ministry of Justice, and also there's also a common thread again of being very collaborative with women you work with, and across the board also with like the men you work with. You've always had a way of collaborating and helping each other. So would you like to share about that?
Very, very shortly to say this, that Dorothy is a very strong-willed person. I am. So even without wishing us anything bad, people didn't think that two strong-willed persons could work together. And I was asking myself, if I've worked with so many men, some of them not exactly what you would desire to work with, how would I be unable to work with one intelligent woman? You see? I am able to work even with people who are not my friends. You concentrate on what what is at hand. But working with Dorothy is exactly as she has described. It was a pleasure. And I've worked with other women too, in the legal profession, in the social spaces. It's always a pleasure. I've worked with men who are a pleasure to work with, others not so much of a pleasure, but you work with them anyway. But let me tell you, should it get toxic, ship out. And I have shipped out.
So thank you so much for joining us on this panel. As we've seen, she has always gone against the tide. She has led, she has inspired, and I hope that you will buy this book and read it because it's so amazing. There are so many things we didn't know, there are so many things you learn, and it's also a good way to celebrate, keep a record, because you've been there. She's, been through Saba Saba, she was active there. She was active during the change of the constitution. She was active during the democratic movement, and she's still here, and she's still inspiring us every single day. So we are so thankful for you, and thank you for joining us on the panel and giving us a different side of math. Not even a different side, it's actually just the truth of who she is. So we're very thankful. Thank you.
At the beginning of this program, I told you my name, did I? And I told you my job in this event, did I? And I told you the job is? Very good. Now, please, ladies and gentlemen, that's not how you clap for such a high-level panel. Louder. 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 Very good. Close it. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we are getting closer and closer to that moment when we hear from Martha herself, and we shall hear a keynote address. And before we do that, we are going to watch a video. And before we do that, let me tell you. So the book is available. You'll be given the book. It's free. All you do is just give a little bit of money to support, everything that has gone into the book. Sawa? Okay? So, and then Martha herself will be available to sign copies of the book for individuals. So it will be a very orderly exercise where she'll be seated there with very many pens, and then you just come in. Don't start stories. Just hand over the book. She'll look at you. She'll read you immediately and write. Thank you for coming. I'd have preferred you not to be here, but thanks anyway. And you go, right? And then there'll be a photographer right there. So as she's signing your book and she's giving you your book, there'll be a photo taken. So look for the photographer, you'll get your photos. Are we together? Okay. So this thing of many photo sessions here, there, and we are all set. We have organized everything. This book has several things. It has a foreword written by Senior Counsel Feroz Noriji. And let me open the page. And among the things that Senior Counsel Feroz Noriji says is that the book boldly articulates the many missed opportunities to rectify past wrongs while offering hope for Kenya. Martha remains a beacon of hope for a brighter future, as encapsulated by her sheer courage and unremitting determination to finish what she started. Are you ready to finish what you start? That is what she is. She writes herself in the preface of the book, and I am going to read word for word. I have held political office and even sought and still seek the highest office in the land in the belief that each one of us is called, albeit in different ways, to contribute towards the success of Project Kenya. It is our cumulative effort that will make our nation work for all of us. This is a cause that is worthy of our sweat, toil, and sacrifice. It's a work in progress, which is passed on for generations endlessly. Those are deep words. And if you don't get the depth of it, it's okay. Tomorrow morning, when you're in the shower, it will hit you. And acknowledge it, okay? Now please, let's take a look at the screen. Let's watch this video.
I'm Martha Karua. I'm from Kathande, within the larger Kimunye village of Gishugu in Kirinyaga County. I'm also known as Kathande 2 on account of my being a second born in our family. Martha is just is a Kenyan from a family. I'm just like your neighbor next door, or just like you perhaps. I grew up in the rural area, and those of my time who grew up in the rural areas, and to some extent even today, know that children in the rural areas will join in all the chores, including going to the farm, accompanying adults to the farm, looking after siblings if you have younger siblings than yourself, playing because children are children and will play, but making your own toys, making bean bags, making dolls from the dried greeneries around. And I'm also a person who is devoted to seeing that this country has good governance, prospers, and that us as citizens get the best services from the leadership in the country. I'm launching my memoir. It's just a story about my life, where I grew up, the influences around me, my school life, my professional life as a magistrate, as a politician, and as a member of this, a citizen of this great country. And I think what inspires anyone to write a book is the need to give back by sharing your experiences, in the hope that you will affirm others, perhaps encourage others, perhaps help others to avoid the mistakes that you may have made. Just share your life so that people may learn from it, and also to present the authentic self to the public. As public figures, what you get to learn about us is only what the media will portray, and maybe it will be the hard stuff, the hard tackles at work. They'll not show you as a person living your life, a social person within family, within happy surroundings. Perhaps you'll be shown just when there are hard tackles and you're fighting or arguing about this and that. So a memoir helps to present the whole, all the faces. Against the Tide is the title. All I'm saying is that my life is much about going against the grain, because more often than not, I have found what I do or my beliefs sometimes being questioned, not necessarily because they're not sound, but with words like, it is not done this way, this is not expected of you. Life is about taking risks. And therefore, whatever dangers come with politics, I view them as part of life, part of the risks that one must face. And I overcome it by knowing, or by reminding myself, you do not have to be even out of your house to meet your maker. You can have an accident right inside your house. You could also just die of natural causes. A lot of people just pass sudden death. So whether you remain in your house, whether you remain silent or active, you will exit this world. For me, I better exit when I'm working, not when I'm hiding. Because when I say hiding, not literally. And when I say hiding, I'm silent, not literally about things going wrong. But when I'm silent about things going wrong, because I fear I may annoy the powers that be. Let them get annoyed. I don't know how not to express myself or what I feel.
Now I want to call somebody special up on stage to come and introduce us to Martha Karua. And please, ladies and gentlemen, when she says, welcome Martha, we'll all stand up so we can welcome her and escort her up on stage. So, but for now, you'll put your hands together, put your hands together, put your hands together, put your hands. Now you can start clapping. Clap, please, for Ariana Gelani as she comes up on stage to introduce Martha Karua. Keep clapping until she gets up there and she signals to you to stop clapping.
Hi everyone. Hi. I'm 14 years old. I'm still in school, and hopefully by listening to all of this, I know how to behave in school. Yeah. I have a little poem for Martha. This is dedicated to her. I watch her standing, tall and proud, her voice like thunder, clear and loud. She doesn't bend, she doesn't break, and with every storm, she finds a way. Her hands have built, her heart has fought, with dreams so big, she was not taught. Her headstrong ways had made room for us to speak with power and to find just. To stand, to speak, to break the mold, to chase our future strong and bold. For in those stories she has lived, she shares her strength and truly gives. Because of her, we find purpose and walk hand in hand with women who understand that power isn't just fame, it's the quiet acts that flame. In every woman, every girl, there's a fire that can light the world. And through her eyes, we have seen the fight, the valor, the grace, and the might. May we continue to be inspired and not to tire. Let us continue and let us be brave. And be like her, our role model, our warrior, our hero, and ride the wave. Even if it's against the tide, her journey has just started, and we support her with pride. Thank you. And now it is my honor, esteemed guest, to welcome Her Excellency Martha Karua on stage.
Let's all be upstanding. Thank you very much as we welcome Martha. Makofi ya kilo 1, 2, 3, twende. Palja. 1992. Martha ameingia kwa siasa. 2027. Yeye ni rais. Funga. Fungua. Asante.
Asante sana MC na kila mtu. Hiyo imenikumbusha enzi ya Nyayo. Hiyo makofi ya kufunga na kufungua. That's a nice throwback, and it is such a pleasure to see you all. The book launch would not be without you. I can't talk to myself about the book. Even if a few friends came to make the panel, we can't talk to ourselves. Thank you, each one of you. I know there will be a vote of thanks, but I feel compelled to also acknowledge that you've made it to make this day happen. I am beyond words for my teachers of yesteryears who have made it today for this launch. Mrs. Michira, I really loved her history lessons, and Mrs. Mwaura too. Mr. Gomez has already said, so when I say I love dancing, when I'm asked what are my hobbies, you have heard now from my teacher that this habit started a long time ago. I think since there is that video where I'm already talking, and I've talked at the panel, I'm wondering what else is there to say, but to recognize each one of you. Waheshimiwa, my friends, I can see you, Gathoni wa Mushomba. We are proud of the work you do. I can see my friend Millie, otherwise known as Geza Geza. A dear friend whose book we launched on the 1st of October. I can see my women rep, Kirinyaga, Honorable Jane Minor. Very proud of you, Jane, and very proud of you, Millie. Millie was a little girl when I got to know her. She had just started practicing. And here she is now, a very strong woman and a role model to many in her right. The work that you do, mentoring is not just sitting across somebody and showing them what to do. It's also what you do and other people watching you do it. I'm so happy to see my age mate and year mate in college, Dr. Mukisa Kitui and Lynn Kitui. We not only went to college together, we went to parliament together and to government together. And we are still going strong in politics. My dear friend Zipi Kitonyi, Mheshimiwa, nakuona. You are all my honored guests. If I mention you one by one, and I can see the First Lady of CII, Betty Morungi. I must utter your title. It is real. Seated alongside strong women, sandwiched by strong women, Jane Kirago and Amdani, Daisy Amdani, whom I call my daughter because her mom was such a good friend. I could mention each one of you. Mheshimiwa Mwirori, nimekuona. Do not think that my eyes have missed you. But you are all honored people, and I truly feel blessed that you have come to this launch today. I won't say much because my story says it all. This is our country. When we share with each other, we affirm each other. And we have to talk about things happening, the mess there is, and to remember that it is us who are going to work and clear that mess. Nobody else will do it for us. And we have to do it together. And by coming together, whether it's a book launch, a wedding, whatever we can share together so that we encourage one another. And I do hope sincerely that the book will encourage you. It will also give you areas where you say, no, this one, no. So you will avoid the mistakes that I made. And you will know that beyond the people you see on stage, it's normal human beings just like you and the person next door. So without going beyond that, I want to first call a dear friend who held my hand through this journey and who represents an organization that helped the writing of this book. And before I call her, I'll tell you, writing is not easy. I first wanted somebody to do it without my involvement. And therefore, I got support for research, and I got a ghostwriter. You sit down, you dictate, you tell, but putting down your thoughts may not always resonate with you when it comes back. But if they had not started, I would never have finished. In the middle, I got others to try, because my initial writer was not Kenyan. I thought maybe the connection is getting lost because of the background. You get somebody else, then you feel it is now beginning to take shape. Eventually, I had to bite the bullet and sit down and go through every chapter. I don't want to say it's all my work, because those who started laid the foundation, but it's a cumulative effort. And it took, I didn't want to say the time, but my people have already let the cat out of the bag. It took about 9 years, because you write, you let it stay in the back room, then you wake up and you think about it again, and you start writing. But for some reason, during the demonstrations of Azimio last year, we would come from Kula tear gas, and I would feel inspired to sit and do a chapter. It's just a funny thing. And eventually, that's how we are where we are. But I want to recognize Frederick Norman Foundation, and in particular, my dear friend, Inge, who is the head of FNF in Africa, based in South Africa. We liaise even with the Kenya office, but the South Africa office, before the Kenya office came to be, are the ones who held my hand through this wonderful friend of mine, Inge. Inge, come to the stage and say a few words.
Martha, thank you very much. I'm truly honored to be standing here and to be able to attend this book launch. Martha is not only a very important leader for Project Kenya. So when you take her out of your country, and that's when I met her in Germany 5 years ago, she came in a setting which is, I think, very normal for her. So she was the only woman in that delegation at the Foreign Office in Berlin, in Germany. And Martha stands out. You see the leader in her. But Martha, and I really liked what was said over there, she's a gate opener. And this is what she really is for me. But not only here in Kenya, but all over Africa. I have the privilege and joy to see Martha in other places from time to time, and to request her to share her experience and her strength and her power with not only young women, but specifically young women on the continent, and she's always ready to do that. And Martha is a big mentor for all of us and for everybody here in Africa. So the book comes at exactly the right time, and Martha, I wish you all the success with it and with all your further projects, and I'm very curious to reading this final version. Thank you very much.
I acknowledge all my classmates in the various stages of my school who are in the room. I can see you. I will not mention you because I know you've all been seated and we need to get this done. Now, without much ado, I will call my esteemed teacher, lecturer at the University of Nairobi. He taught us civil law. He rose to become the first Chief Justice under the 2010 Constitution, none other than Dr. Willy Mutunga, Professor.
Good evening. Can I ask
those who taught Mother Karua to come here, and I'll just take 10 minutes to there was Mishira. Yeah. And then there was another one here. Yeah. Are we only three? Mr. Gomez, you can also come. They can bring the chair, please. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, how are you? Do you want the chair? I won't take long.
No, I can start.
Okay, all right, all right. Thank you. Oh, they're bringing us. Thank you very much. I won't take long. I just want to make a few comments, after reading this book. Ngugi wa Thiong'o gave us the wisdom on how to judge individuals' legacy in their pursuits. He was writing about Jomo Kenyatta, and he advised that we should put people in a trajectory, glorify their great achievements, and vilify their weaknesses. The fairness of this approach is apparent. You end up taking great lessons which are critical to the struggles we face, particularly the ideological and political ones. And those who buy the book, I urge you, to read the memo and adopt that strategy. Having been in public service myself, I see Martha making one great point in this book. The point is that in a position of political power, you always find spaces to act in the national interest, even if this is what you want to do. Public service has many spaces for undertaking tasks in the national interest, as well as standing up against what is not in the national interest. And you read about Mother's successes in the water ministry and the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, and see how those spaces were used against great opposition. At the international scene also, you see examples of the way Martha handled diplomats, and you really like that because our diplomats pontificate about democracy and the rule of law, yet not all of them, but the ones from maybe the empire, yet they do not respect our country's leadership, institutions, and our constitution. So once the Secretary of State of the US, Baker III, took Philip Leakey aside in a meeting in Washington and asked Leakey what the new world order meant. Without even waiting for Leakey to respond, Baker told him that the new world order meant that the US always gave the orders. Now, Mother's responses to such arrogance is shared in a memoir with a glee. Find out from a book, I don't want to tell you the stories, how she deals with the Jedi Fraser, Condoleezza Rice, the famous or infamous Sir Edward Clay, Michael Ronenberger, and Also, an encounter with the French ambassador who paid a courteous call to inquire about the chances of French companies running water services in Nairobi. And it has this hilarious but patriotic response. She told the ambassador, "If I'm not running water services in Paris, then no Frenchman would do it in Nairobi." Our relationship, of course, with other ambassadors is also an example that you could still have solidarity with other diplomats from other countries. And the example of Swedish SIDA is also an example of a leader who basically knows how, to deal with ambassadors and diplomats who can be difficult. Now, it's said that the apple does not fall far from its tree, and mother's quest and struggles for gender equity and equality, progressive feminism can be traced, in my view, to a paternal grandmother, a woman called Mwa Njogu. You can read about her on page 19, and those of us who know mother will recall many stories about her that reflect Mwa Njogu's DNA, and you have been told many of those stories today. And our parents also have been our role models, and she dedicates the book, to them. After reading the book, I thought Karua, the father, Nyarubiu, was maybe what you might call a reluctant feminist masculine. The people who are men, we can be very patriarchal, we can be very male chauvinist, but we're ready to change. And I saw this man listening to his daughter without the usual traditional male chauvinism and patriarchy, which was also important. The memoir has a rich history of our constitution-making processes and its promulgation. Memoirs by politicians tend to hide or leave out a lot of detail that are in the grapevine. Mother does not do that in the political arena. I think she lets us have the glimpse of our leaders. And let me share, the last reflection. And this is around this issue of, which is in part 1 of the memoir. The title is "The Making of a Kenyan Iron Lady." And I've engaged many friends and comrades over time about them comparing Martha to Margaret Thatcher, because I think Margaret Thatcher is the one who was given that particular title. And I'm very happy that this comparison has been, contradicted, because I think I don't want to say a lot about Margaret Thatcher, but the comparison, and I think it's wrong. I don't know who started it. Mostly mothers, male colleagues in the government, when they were scared of her. So we've been told she's not that iron. So the last thing I want to say, Martha, is this: one of my professors, Isa Shivji, always shares with me the wisdom that patriots do not retire when the struggle continues. I believe Mother has heeded this advice as well, she pledges to us and the nation our continued quest for change. And I thank you very much. And thank you, my fellow teachers, also for coming. You taught Mother before I did, so that's a great honor. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give another warm round of applause, please, to CJ Emeritus Professor Willie Mutunga. Of course, to Martha herself. We're going to be getting all this thing off the stage because now we are about to launch the book. I'd love to call very many people up on stage, but the camera people don't like many people up on stage on a photo. So we are only going to have a few people joining in this photo. Of course, we'll have Martha herself coming up on stage. She'll be joined by CJ Emeritus Professor Mutunga. They will be joined by Mwalimu, Mr. Gomez, Inge will also join in this particular moment for walking this journey with Martha for so many years, up to a point where we have the book. Don't worry, there's enough space. And then we'll welcome Dorothy Angote to join in that photo. So this is how we're going to do it. We are going to have a countdown which we'll count together. Then we will unveil the book. Then we will celebrate the fact that the book is now launched. And then we are going to just have a couple of photos here. We shall then get a vote of thanks and move on to getting a book signed, a few copies of the book signed. Sawa? All right. AV people, are you ready? Are we queued? Let's all look on the screens, and when a number comes on stage, you count with that number. Don't do 1 when it's 8. Are we together? Okay. Let's count. Let's go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ladies and gentlemen, against the tides. Anguka nayo. Okay, Boni, you wanted to anguka nayo.
Tushaskia tukiingia ni kuplas huko ngabadu na chuklo madam so
well done
na vibe anguka nao koko single for now
copies of the book are coming
mteja patikani hadi late night saa 6 ndo taniwai
haya Boni is coming to anguka nayo Boni
sukate call niko chomba ya ji mimi najua utakuwa irizo release acha nikushow kwanza form ya bidon nishashika mpoa na twende chini kwa chini akiwa hadi na mini sasa tunasikiza shit tuna feel free teka video na post pale NGC jina ni Kantel Kurapsi ni talent G anguka nao check it anguka nao twende down low now stand up to your feet mikono juu alafu click tuliza pesa alafu one leg anguka nao one leg anguka nao anguka nao
well done
anguka nao
copies of the book. copies of the book, for the photo. Now, listen to instructions from the photographers. They have very many instructions. For example, they'll tell you, don't look down, open the front page, read the forward. You see, I told you they have instructions. As that is happening, here's what is going to happen next. We shall have a vote of thanks from Wanja, and then we'll allow the Honorable Martha to walk out so that she can go and sit and be ready to sign. We'll then allow her panelists to also walk out. Please, as everybody else will remain seated and the doors will be closed, let the doors remain shut for now. For order, okay? As you've heard, Martha is one person who goes against the tide, but she likes order. Sindio? Now, I'd like all of us to read, because these are other very, very profound words that are here. Our victories may not be for us, but for those who come after us. Our victories may not be for us, but for those who come after us. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. I'm not the one who's supposed to say thanks. It's Wanja who will come and give a vote of thanks. But the order again from here is we shall all remain seated. Martha, CJ Emeritus, Mwalimu, and the people at the front row, plus the panelists will walk out. And then everybody else shall walk out from. Let the doors remain closed. I don't know why these people open the door. You know, when you tell them close the door, they open the door. Okay, open the door. So this is the order. Do not go out from those doors. Let's all use this door. Let's try and be orderly as much as possible. You'll get a book. Go, join the queue, get it signed, take a photo. She may not sign all the copies here today, but she'll be available in days to come to sign copies and get them to you. Sawa. Wanja, please, come. Makofi tafadhali.
Good evening. I'm going to try and speed through this as much as possible. But before I do, can we just give a round of applause to all of you for being here tonight, for everybody who came. So first, obviously, thanks to God for giving us the provision and the resources to be here. We know there's a lot of people in our country who are hurting. It's a difficult time for a lot of people. So for the fact that you all are privileged and blessed to have the resource of time and energy to be here, we don't take it for granted, and we thank God for that. And usually when I do vote of thanks, I forget MCs and hosts. So let me start by giving a big thank you to the amazing Eric Latif, Naliaka Wafula, our panel host, for doing a outstanding job. And of course, a round of applause again for our amazing, esteemed guest speaker, Ms. CJ Mutunga, and all the panelists who are on board. Please do a round of applause. And actually, I'll step back a bit. I had told Eric and them I was going to try and do something to at least engage the crowd, and I forgot to start it. So there's this thing, you know how when you go to church, they say, and the responsorial Samis. So now I'll request, so when I say, you know, and the crowd said, we'll do 2 claps and a stomp. Okay? Can we try that? Okay, one more time. One more time? Excellent, so we're good. So I'll start with the exceptional service providers, Lois, Bernard, and the Serena team. Thank you so much, you guys were exceptional. Nikisema responsorial Sam. I'll say, and the crowd says, yeah. And I hope the team that I'm going to call out is in the room. If you're not in the room and you know I'm going to call you, please start coming in. Special recognition. And I hope I don't get emotional here. There's a quote by Margaret Mead that I love that says, never doubt what a small group of dedicated citizens can do. They can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. I have had the absolute pleasure and honor of working with a remarkable team. Of people who give me hope about Kenya. Their sacrifice of time, resource, and talent is immeasurable. There are people who have been working on this project from London while juggling their families. There are people who have elderly parents who they take care of. There are people who have young families. There are people who are working multiple jobs. There are people who run their own businesses. There's actually somebody who's helped put this organization together who is competing in another country. And so I will call them by name, and I would like for you to stand, or at least wave, and then after this we'll do the clap, yeah? So Wagio, Dennis, and the event zone team, Steve and team of Define Africa. Steve, Define Africa people. Yeah, please wave so people can see you. Richard Njao of Cleaning Up the Airwaves. Richard. There he is. Felt Africa, and this is an exceptional group in terms of just the extent of which they organized not only this event, but things preceding and following this. Felt Africa, Diana, where's Diana? Diana there, Chaka, Esther, Kasam Wesley, Titus Nderito, who is all the way in London, Shiko Kereka, Arune Hik, Tony, Isaac of Sajili and the ushering team, Ephraim Wainaina, who did the amazing merchandise, which we're still waiting for people to buy, Alpha House, Christine, Andre, and Peter. People said? Great. And then a special recognition to Emmanuel Jumbo. Where is Emmanuel Jumbo? Do you see this amazing artwork? Guess who's the photographer? So please join me in giving him a resounding applause. Thank you, Emmanuel. And special recognition, obviously, to our partners and supporters. Mheshimiwa has already said, FNF, Inge, we've heard so much about you, and there's a lot. Judy Kaberia, also from FNF, thank you so much. OSIA and KHCR, those partners have made today possible. And then in terms of the book itself, there are people that that have to stand up. Dr. Barine, can you guys please, this book would not be here if it's not for this man and the publishing team from Barine Publishing. Thank you so much for your incredible support and walking through us in this journey. Mbogwa. Yes, the amazing author who brought this book to life. Thank you so much, Mbogwa. And David Muchunge, our editor. David, thank you so much, David. We really appreciate you and we're thankful for you. And finally, to our inspiring author, a dedicated woman of integrity. This book is a testament of your character, resilience, and commitment to truth. I know most of you hopefully will get to read and tell a lot of people about this book, but I'll tell you a quick story about something that made me realize what kind of boss I have. I remember early on when I first started working with Martha, and I was in between Kenya and abroad. And it was frustrating, there was a lot of bad things happening, and I said, so you just leave, we go to another country. And you know what she said to me? She said, if we leave, who are we leaving behind for our country? So Martha, thank you for being a constant inspiration and a soldier who I just thank God for and ask for continued grace. And finally, to our readers, supporting community. Oh, I've just seen one of our board members. I didn't thank our board, sorry. To our amazing board, thank you so much. And to our readers and all who read this book, we hope it will inspire all of you to stand firm on truth, to be dedicated to what is right, to recognize that each of us has a role in shaping a better future for our country. May it be a guide, a light, and a call to action. Thank you.
And a round of applause, please, for Wanja. Thank you very much. So the program, as had been designed by Wanja, is the program director. I said we start at 4, we end at 6:30. What time is it? And so what happens is that we get a closing prayer. Diana, are we ready with the closing prayer, Diana? Okay. Now what happens after the closing prayer? The program says we'll go into book signing, and then guests will leave at their own pleasure. People who say that have not had me as the MC. I am the what? Guests will leave at my pleasure. So After the prayer, Martha and the front row and the panelists will walk out through the left. And those are the only people who will walk out. And then you will remain seated. And then I'll tell you how we walk out. Sawa? 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 Aya. 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 Where, Diana? The closing prayer.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for being with us today. We thank you for the amazing time we've had. We thank you for the author, the person who has convened us all here. We thank you for the book that she's written, dear Lord. And when we send it out, we pray that it will inspire and empower as many people as possible. And as everyone here leaves, may they reach their destination safely. In Jesus' name I pray.
Thank you, Diana. So we put our hands together. Let's all put our hands together. Put our hands together. Put our hands together. As we do the clap, we shall be saying against the tide. Against the tide. Against the tide. Now say it. The tide. Against. Against. Martha. Against. Against until Martha goes. Against. 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 Louder. Against. Against. I'm changing my to the next octave. Against. Against. Very good. So they're going out. They'll walk out through that side. Only the